I've been seeing clips of this interview, this DJ Vlad video with Day26. Day26 is one of the groups from back in the day, back in Puff Daddy's Making the Band era. Some of you might not remember it, but because it's a bit aged, but this is one of his groups. And this part of the video is the part that a lot of people have been clipping. So I kind of want to focus on this video because it's kind of, it says a lot without saying a lot. So I wanted to focus on this and to just kind of bring this a little bit forward. So let's watch.
What's happening now as we're sitting here and having this interview, and afterwards we're going to go have some dinner and live our lives. Diddy is sitting in a federal holding facility, possibly facing life in prison.
Right.
That's sad in itself as well.
I didn't see this coming.
No.
Nobody did.
No one could have predicted 5 years ago that Diddy would be facing life, no bail.
Now, I want you to pay attention. The gentleman all the way to the left with the shirt that says Day26, that's the one called Q, okay? Back in the day, he was what people called the pretty boy of the group, or what you'd say was the most handsome. He was the pretty boy of the group. If you notice, he's the one that we're shining the light on today and paying particular attention to.
Yeah. With all the other crazy stuff that came out. Like, for example, were you guys around Cassie at all?
Yeah. She's our close, good friend.
Good friend. Did you see any of the abuse?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Man. When you saw that video in the hotel hallway.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Man, that could be any man and any woman. That was not deserved. You know what I'm saying? No matter whether it was Diddy and Cassie or whoever it was, that just is ridiculous, bro. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the unspoken language, the unspoken body language.
That video was awful. And, he's being held right now under a RICO. But I've said this publicly. I don't quite understand how one person could be a RICO. And I understand the freakiness and, he likes to see other dudes sleep with his woman.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Whatever. Like that's,
Allegedly about it.
He may or may not be bisexual, whatever. All that's legal. I don't quite understand what exactly he's being charged with.
Me neither.
Do any of you really understand?
Other than him other than that.
No, but he's not being charged for
exactly.
that. That's the statute of limitations.
He's paid off or whatever, right?
Yeah, she settled.
Yeah. I don't know, because I don't think you can go to jail for Vaseline or baby oil.
Yeah, but now you got baby oil back on the shelves again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He hasn't been buying out the world's supply anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he's a danger to the world right now.
I think trafficking. They said sex trafficking and I think it's racketeering.
That's the RICO part.
Yeah. Racketeering.
But I don't, like I said, we don't know nothing about none of that. We hear the same thing y'all hear from social media.
Like when you start traveling.
See, notice how Q is one of the most quiet ones. He's one that said the least. It's him and then the gentleman up top to the right. Those two seem to be the most quiet. And you know what they say about the quiet ones. They are usually ones with the most to say. So just pay attention to that.
It is bullshit. People start traveling and there are a bunch of moving parts.
Yeah.
And a person is being accused of that. It's just.
There's a million stories and conspiracy theories out there right now. So I'm just waiting on the judgment day because I don't know. I've never really experienced none of the bad stuff that everybody talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I do see some stuff that's weird. Like you can't go to jail for baby oil. Why is this even a part of the? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like it's just certain things that don't ring right to me. And I'm not one of the people that's gonna believe everything I hear anyway. But
Well, I was with Dirty Money, and I sung background for them when I wasn't a part of Day26. Mm-hmm. So I was able to be around them through the album process of them creating Last Train to Paris. And what I witnessed was a sober Sean and a regular Sean. Like when he's regular, he's very cool, very giving. Like it will invite you to dinner. You know what I mean? Feed you around this table.
Everyone says that.
What up, Playboy? What up? Be very excited. Then I saw
Sean is Puff Daddy.
Hi, Sean too, which was very dangerous. So that's why I said I feel like he's in jail, and I'm not judging anybody because I think he needs prayer and help. But he's in jail because he's a danger to himself, first of all, and he's a danger to the world right now. And I think there's a lot of people that are scared that didn't come out in the beginning, that are very scared because it's a scary situation. It's not just him that could possibly hurt you. It's people around him that are still close to him that could hurt you. Or it's just really deep, man, with Sean. So I would say I think he's in jail right now just for a good reason.
Well, I did an interview with Roger Bonds, who was in security. Was he around you guys?
No.
No?
I don't think he was around. Well, he was around him.
I was around Roger Bonds.
He was around him, right. And he witnessed all the abuse.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So you notice that the boy Q said that he's experienced both Puff Daddy. He experienced the normal Puff Daddy that was, jovial, that was very welcoming and hospitable. He was very open and, and people loved that Puff Daddy. It's kind of dude that everybody wanted to be around. And that's fine. But the high Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean, he's calling him Sean. That dude is the one that's dangerous. That's the one that's most likely the abusive one. The one that we saw on the video with Cassie. That's most likely the one that most of us don't see. The people that are closest to him most likely see that Sean, that Puff Daddy. Most of us don't see the one that's high and dangerous and very volatile and violent. The majority of us don't see that guy. Back in the day, I would say when Sean started to become Puff Daddy, when he was making a name for himself, and you started to see him everywhere. He was in everybody's videos. He was on everybody's records. It's like every artist that he had, he needed to make himself known with that artist in the video, in the song. He had to, have a quick lines or something in everybody's album. I felt then there was something with him. He used to wear glasses a lot, shades, sunglasses. It would be nighttime inside and he would be wearing sunglasses. I felt there was a reason for that. I wasn't sure if he was cross-eyed, if he had a cock eye, or, the reason. A lot of times people have reasons for doing things like that, right? They don't allow too many people to see them, the real them, without those shades on. It's kind of like people use it as a mask. And that's kind of how I felt about Puff Daddy back in the day when he was doing, like, making the band, and you saw him with a lot of these groups. You didn't see, you saw him in interviews and things. The majority of the time you saw him with shades on. Then at one point he decided to remove the shades, and he started being public without them. Now, he had the shades on for a while, but when he did finally remove them, I just saw something in his eyes that I wasn't able to put it into words back then. But there was something in his eyes that to me wasn't right. Something deep and dark. Not right. I don't know if I was willing to say that it was evil, but it was something that was in his eyes. He's very good with manipulation. So the person that you see is not the real person that you're getting. I think possibly because Q was dealing with him before Day 26, he saw more parts of him than maybe the other gentlemen in the group did. I'm not sure about the gentleman on the top right. I noticed that he purses his lips a lot. He's also one that's quite quiet. But I'm looking at things like that. He hasn't said much. Q is going to start saying some things that, can be quite triggering. So just, take that with, keep that into consideration. Viewer and listener discretion advised. But I would like for you guys to pay attention to some of the things that he's going to start talking about now. Again, he dealt with Sean, with Puff Daddy, prior to his being in the group Day 26. So a lot of the other members only knew Sean, Puff Daddy, when he made the group for Day 26. But Q knew of him before that, and quite possibly, when he was working with another group, and he was, like he said, he was just the background singer. He knew, he experienced more of Puff Daddy than the rest of the members did. And that could quite possibly be why he has a deeper experience of him.
What you're saying is, basically consistent to what he was saying was that Diddy was, over time became a...
Does anybody have that one product that they live by?
I'm sorry.
The rest of the world?
He would go on these drug binges. Him and Cassidy would lock themselves in these hotel rooms for 3-4 days, go on these binges. And during the binges, that's when allegedly the free coughs happen or whatever else. And then they would go and get IVs.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Trying to rejuvenate themselves.
That's a fact.
And then a week or two later, go through the same type of thing.
He's also the person that said that Diddy said that he never cared about making a band, and he never planned on using, making a band successful. Like it was
just basically like a lit for him.
Yeah. Like he never really had a business
That
mind.
was James said that.
Well, my thing with Roger Bonds was,
Bonds.
like, I had an issue with him, and I was kind of like nervous around them because I was in the email, and I saw some things in a personal email that threw me off guard.
Like what?
I don't want to go into details right now, but it just threw me off guard. You know what I mean? To make me be like, you know what I mean? Like, I understand you crying now and of the trauma that you've seen, but what about me, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what about the trauma you put me through when I read that email?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's just not like Sean that's guilty. They're all fucking guilty, man. Like, and I'll just put the blame on Sean. I blame everybody that's in his circle. They're all minions and they want to be like him. And if they can't be like him, they try to come against him. If they don't got the money or they can't get it as quick as him or whatever he's doing to get it, then all of a sudden it's like, let's turn against him now. You know what I mean?
And I think he's right when he says this. I think a lot of people that are around him are not necessarily trying to be like him, but they're yes men. They want they're hangers on. They want to get that money. Whatever he has to throw at them, they're there for it. If he can he promises them careers or, money, he's taking them out to eat and they're eating around his table. They're feeding off of him. So not necessarily wanting to be him, but they're feeding off of him. That's what they're there for. It's sad, because they are guilty in that. Those people saw things. Those people experienced things of Sean, Puff Daddy. They experienced things and they did not say anything. They didn't report. They didn't try to intervene. They didn't stop him. They didn't, they said nothing. They were there for it. They were there for it all. They experienced it all and they said nothing. And in their silence, they were complicit. And not to dog Q, but he's talking about an email, right? There has to be more than just a simple email that chokes a grown man up. Now, he did say he doesn't want to get into that right now, whatever that other stuff is, possibly what he means, but he's speaking specifically about this email. There has to be more. Just watch.
Because I guess whatever, I don't know.
Well, you said that you've seen the drugged out Diddy.
Yeah.
What would happen during those times?
Well, I mean, I can't. I'll keep it.
Notice how they all laughed when he asked them that? That means they all must have experienced that. Drugged out Puff Daddy. They all must have experienced that. If they're all laughing, they all have something to say regarding that. They're all finding it kind of comical.
Very short. Things felt very sacrificial. Shit.
Okay, explain.
I can't. I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy person, too. You know what I mean? Because I'm not. But when you're under a power, man, it's just you. I can't go into details now, but sir, like I'll tell you, it felt like some sacrificial stuff was going on, man. Like it felt very scary and weird to where I ran to get help. I ran to my doctor. I spoke up with my family. I spoke up to people around me because I was like, if this is true, and I'm missing or dead or something, I want you guys to know facts and the truth of what I'm going through and experiencing.
Did you have this conversation?
So, a lot of times when people have a mental illness or something that's documented like that, a lot of times something can happen to them. They can come up unalived and people say, oh, he battled with mental illness, for years. He is bipolar or he's schizophrenic or, whatever other mental illness that person was diagnosed with. They throw that out to excuse the fact that this person's now unalived, and they just throw it in the category of self-deletion, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be true. And this gentleman here is letting you know that if something like that happened to him, it didn't occur by his own hands. That, to me, says what you think those people are capable of. If you have to give that kind of disclaimer, it says you think they're capable of something sinister.
Sure, the rest of the group?
Yeah, they know.
So when you guys heard this,
We was in tears. Like,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
We in tears. Real, I love my brother, what's going on, tears. Real hurt, pain. Like
I got to get an injection in my arm every month for mental health now for the rest of my life.
What's the
They diagnosed me as schizophrenic and bipolar. The same thing, kind of like what Fred said he was going through. But I didn't experience suicide thoughts. I experienced other thoughts of being harmed and stuff.
Yeah, I have people in my family.
Now, that's for someone to run to a doctor, run to your family, to run to seek help. He fled. I apologize. He fled, whatever that was, and he ran to his doctor to seek help. He was having, self-deletion ideation. And so for something like that to happen, you have to consider There's no way a simple email, no matter what was in it, unless there were pictures that were very vivid and not pixelated at all, unless there were very pictures or something like that, a simple email does not have a man doing a full-grown adult male running to seek help to a family, to a physician, to a psychiatrist, to to receive help, simply because they read an email. I could be wrong, but that's, again, that's my opinion.
Who are both schizophrenic and other people that have been bipolar.
Yeah, it's real scary when you got to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
You start doing things. I was like walking around Rochester, bro. Like, it's like, I really.
Okay, so he said that he has to keep it to himself. You have to remember this group was established back in 2007. We have a large push now for mental health. Check your mental health. We have a lot of resources and things like that are much better in 2025 than they were back in 2007. Back in 2007, it was something that you had to keep to yourself because a lot of people, especially within our community, that's not something that you disclose. You had to worry about being labeled crazy. People would just, discard you easily. People would say things. You had to worry about all of that criticism, that came along with such a label. I personally say a lot of times that schizophrenic people terrify me. I have said that myself, but because I'm part of the true crime community and I've heard of these cases that involve schizophrenic people, and they're sometimes often the worst ones. And so for those purposes, I usually say that schizophrenic people terrify me. But that's, again, putting a label or coming to conclusions, dropping conclusions for someone. It's like when you see a kid, a news story about, someone going into a school and opening fire, you think, oh, mental health. People automatically go to, oh, mental health. Oh, this person must have been bipolar. Oh, this person must have been schizophrenic. That person could possibly not have ever been diagnosed with anything. You never know, but people automatically draw those conclusions when it comes to mental health, labels and diagnoses. It's sad, but it's true. But think about how it is today. And it was like 10 times worse back in 2007. 10 times worse when you didn't have so many news stories and the internet and, everything wasn't so easily accessible. So when he says he had to keep that to himself, that's why back in 2007, these things were not so widely known and accepted. Now you hear about someone bipolar, you're like, oh, okay, well, it's much more common and more widely accepted than it was back then. And so think of having that kind of diagnoses. You're bipolar and schizophrenic. You're having to take medication once a month. And that alone, the weight of that alone can be heavy. So heavy for him to deal with. And then you think of what, I'm not going to say caused that, but I will say what inflamed it, right? What inflamed that? Those situations? What caused him to act more bipolar? What brought about the schizophrenia? What those situations? when you think about that, so now he's got these diagnoses that he's got to deal with, the medication that he's got to deal with, but he also has to deal with the situations that, brought those occurrences, those, those things about his schizophrenic behaviors, his bipolar behaviors, what brought those about. And those things can tend to replay and replay and replay on repeat 24/7 in your mind. Replay, replay, repeat. And I can't imagine that's easy for a young man. I have no idea what experiences he can't speak about, but there's no way that this was just simply due to an email, in my opinion.
I lost myself for like years. And I don't cry about this no more because I'm stronger. But it's like I was going crazy, bro, trying to figure out like what is going on. And the things that I was feeling are coming to light now, and I'd be like, whoa, that had to be God, intervening and removing me from that situation because it could have got really, really bad. So,
Yeah, man, I'm sorry to go through that.
it's okay.
Yeah. But at least they found something that actually helps you out to stabilize you. 'Cause I think a lot of people, they self-medicate, whether it's with pills or whatever else. Yeah, man, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Look at this eye. Nothing.
Not good.
I'll give you guys a minute.
And I guess like if this would never came out, I still would have been secret about it. I wouldn't just like snitch.
Yeah.
Because I'm not no snitch. Like I was gonna just deal with it.
All right. So in our community, we have this thing about being a snitch, right? It's kind of toxic because in a way of him saying he's not going to be a snitch, he was kind of complicit about whatever those situations were that he experienced. He was kind of complicit with him saying, oh, I'm not going to be a snitch. So he saw whatever he saw, he experienced whatever he experienced, and he chose not to speak up. He chose not to say about it. He chose not to report it. He chose not to be a snitch. And I don't know how I feel about that. Oftentimes I feel like those things we should snitch about, if you want to call it snitching. I mean, because there were many people this man possibly, allegedly hurt. There are allegations that there are people that are no longer with us because of this man. There, are a lot of allegations about this man that are not good. I don't know what this Q experienced. But if you notice, he's crying. The gentleman in the white scarf is crying. The other dude down in the middle, they're passing around towels now to wipe their eyes. And I want you to remember, this group was established back in 2007. They had to at least be 18 back then. Now you're looking at nearly 20 years later. These men are in their mid-30s. They're around their mid-30s, at least. These are adult, full-grown males crying. Whatever they experienced was traumatic, not just for Q, but for other members in that group as well.
And I don't know why somebody that evil would. I don't get it. I don't know why somebody would do that to a talented, passionate people. Yeah. Like, even though we talented, passionate people, I don't understand. No, it's okay, bro. I don't understand why someone would sit down and think about hurting someone. I don't know. And or laugh about it after they do it, you know. Like, I don't get it. That's why I said none of them are innocent. I'm not here to expose anybody, but none of them are innocent, man. Like, none of them are innocent. Y'all all coming after this man for millions of dollars when y'all were a part of it as well. Y'all were down too. Like, that's not fair. That's not fair to him. It's not fair. Fair to me.
It's not fair to people that with actual story that actually been affected by that. Because then it make everybody seem like they just try out to get something or, you know, whatever, opposed to it being real people that went through real stuff, you know.
Did you ever confront Diddy about this?
I kept trying to get in contact with him because all I wanted was an apology. All I kept saying, like, could you apologize? Like,
now, he wants an apology. I know what that feels like because I am a survivor and I still want an apology. And we're looking at 30 some odd years later. I still want an apology. But he wants an apology for something that occurred other than an email. You don't, this isn't caused by an email. An email doesn't cause a room full of 5 full grown adult males to cry like this. Not an email. You don't continue to reach out to someone and hope for an apology about an email. I feel sorry for this kid, for all 5 of them, for whatever they experienced, because this is what trauma looks like. This is what trauma, PTSD, looks like. They're traumatized, these kids, from whatever they experienced that was much more than an email. And he wants an apology for that. Sometimes that's just all you want, is for that person or those persons to acknowledge you, to acknowledge they know what they did to you is wrong. You want that, and there has to come a time when you acknowledge or you accept that you're not going to get that. Especially when you're dealing with someone as narcissistic as Sean Puff Daddy Combs. That man's never going to sincerely offer an apology. Not to Q, not to any of these other boys, not to anybody. When he got online after the Cassie video leaked, and he got online and said, he offered his apology, we all saw right through it. There was no sincerity in that. None. I think Q needs to find a way within himself to accept he's not going to get that apology. He has to accept that. He's not going to get an apology from Sean. He's not going to get an apology from any of the other people that were there that he experienced, but that were also complicit in whatever Sean was doing. He's not getting an apology from them either, because they're just going to throw the blame onto Sean. And Sean's not going to give it. It's sad to say, but it's true. I think Q's going to have to find a way, and he sounds like he believes in God. So within God, he's going to have to find a way to forgive Puff Daddy despite never receiving an apology. He's going to have to find a way to forgive himself for whatever is riddling him with guilt, because I sense some guilt here with him as well. He's going to have to forgive himself for that. So much time has come and gone, and he's still riddled with this. And he's going to continue to be traumatized and continue to be, riddled with this pain until he finds a way to forgive Sean. Not for Sean, but for himself. He's going to have to find a way to forgive Sean, Puff Daddy Combs, for whatever happened back then, for whatever he experienced, for all of those experiences. He's going to have to find a way to forgive. Otherwise, this is his life. This he's going to be saddled with for the rest of his life. And that's sad, because you're looking at a group full of talented boys. And I'm sorry, I'm more mature than they are, so I say boys, men. You're looking at a group full of talented men, and not just them. All of the groups that Sean dealt with, a lot of these people, majority of them were highly talented. That's the sad part. They were so highly talented and passionate about music. Highly talented. And what he did with that, how he crushed those dreams, how he darkened all the light that they had within themselves. All of that fire and passion that they had, he smoldered it. It's sad. It's heartbreaking, because when you saw these kids and how hard they were working and how much they wanted it, and they came in raw off the street with so much talent, and he corrupted all of it. They wanted it so bad. They were so talented and gifted. And think about it. None of them really made it, except for Bieber and Usher. And Bieber and Usher didn't stay under Puff Daddy. At points they left. The groups that really stayed with him and his label, none of them made it. None of them are millionaires to this day. Some of them are actually homeless. And it's sad. But Puff Daddy is very vindictive and petty. So for the group members that didn't do what he wanted them to do, he took it out on them. He blackballed them, and they did eventually become pretty poor and homeless. One dude said he deals drugs to try to make ends meet. It's sad, because once again, you're looking at people that had so much to contribute to the industry. So much to contribute to the industry. And did he care? Did he? He cared about himself. He didn't care about the music. He didn't care about the industry. He didn't care about any of these kids. He cared about himself only. And whatever they had to do to serve himself is what he cared about. Whatever his needs were. And these kids are traumatized because of it. And now they're full-grown adult people with their own wives, their own children, their own mortgages and car notes. And here they are, still traumatized. They're still stuck at the point where they were hurt, where he hurt them. They're still stuck in that place where he left them when it comes to that. And nobody can fly freely until they have that trauma off of their backs.
Could you just apologize for what I can't talk about right now? But I just wanted to apologize because something was wrong with me, man. Something was wrong. And like on your last Vlad interview, you could look at me and tell like something was wrong. Like I wasn't the enthused person. I wasn't cute. I looked like stressed. I looked like I was in a dark place. So like you could tell like something was wrong. Like, yeah. Yeah, man. I didn't mean to go there. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all
so
good.
sorry,
This is real. And
we gotta take a break.
yeah, let's take a break.
So that's pretty much the end of the interview. They take a break to give the boys some time to, recover. And then, at that point, I think they have this is parts. So I think this is part 5. But this is the most integral part because it tells you a lot without saying a lot. And, my heart goes out to these kids because they're still saddled with this. And an apology would be very liberating for them. Just a simple apology. That acknowledgement that they were done wrong. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And they have to find some peace despite not receiving that apology. And 20 years later, they're still saddled with this. It's still at a place to where it's making them cry and weep. Adult men weeping. Q makes it seem as though he's the only person that experienced that, but his group members experienced some things as well. I find it beautiful that they're brothers in this. They're leaning on each other. They're comforting each other. That's real brotherhood. When you become band members, you have a certain bond that you guys share. So even though you came together as strangers, you become brothers. And I think that's beautiful. But it breaks my heart how talented these people were and how he just killed them. He just deleted all of everything that they had within themselves, he took that and blew it up. It's really sad to see, because it's kind of like, even as an observer, you know, you witness this kind of thing. And so I'm not really sure about all of the RICO charges and everything that he's, you know, I'm kind of like they are when it comes to that. I'm not really sure, you know, who else he's being charged with, because I don't see anybody else. I don't see anybody else with him in these RICO charges. So who knows? I don't know what the FBI is finding or what they have found. Who knows? Right. But I wish there was a charge that they can give him for all of the dreams he crushed. For all of them. For all of the talent he abused. And this music that was being produced back then was like the soundtrack of my youth. And now every time I listen to a song or I watch one of those videos, I think, did he hurt them? Were they one of the ones he diddled, so to speak? I wonder. I watched a 112 video recently, and I thought the same thing with those kids. Were they one? Was one of them, you know, hurt by Diddy? Were all of them hurt by Diddy? And the weight of that, because you have to be, you know, hurt by this man, and then you have to go for an interview and smile and pretend that everything's okay. And oftentimes you're standing right next to him. I heard an artist say the first time, quote, the first time I was raped, unquote. The first time. He said he was 11. And this person was fire back then. Fire. When this artist was doing things, I mean, it's a very famous artist. And when I heard that, my heart broke, because I wondered how many times did he have to stand there and smile when on his heart and in his mind he was fighting those thoughts, those remembrances of the trauma that he experienced at the hands of someone else. A lot of times people saddle our young men with, I don't know if accusation is the word. My mind's not working very well today. But we say things about our young black men. We think they're acting out. We throw words at them like, you know, ghetto. You know, we throw a lot of bad words at them that are not necessarily nice. We draw conclusions about their personalities based on what we're seeing them doing in those split seconds. And it's causing me to question how many of them are having to deal with the intrusive thoughts of things they experienced at the hands of someone else. Because those things do come out, and sometimes involuntary ways. So these boys are acting out without really being able to ask for help, without having the words to say, hey, this happened to me, without knowing who to say that to or who to trust. It's, I feel so sad for these boys, but I really wish that they can find peace. I pray that they find a way to forgive Sean, and that they find a way to forgive themselves so they can get unstuck and move on. And at that time, they'll be able to recall those memories, those emails, those experiences. They'll be able to recall those without being this emotional. But this is what trauma looks like. They were all so young, and they experienced some severe trauma. And they're still stuck at that traumatic place where Puff Daddy left them. When you see someone, maybe a younger boy or male, young man, acting out, maybe consider that. They've had some experiences that may have traumatized them and they don't know how to speak up about it. So they act out. Just consider that. Think about how many young men Sean had access to that he traumatized. It's so much deeper than just Bieber and Usher. Some of these people still kind of do things, but a lot of those people were really dismayed by the industry and stepped out and left. Some of them are what you call one-hit wonders. You reach that kind of trauma, it breaks you mentally, breaks you. So when you see somebody, sometimes just try to be a little bit more compassionate, maybe. Consider. Maybe there's some trauma there. Because a lot of our young people have experienced trauma. And especially the younger inner city youth don't necessarily have the words to put together to ask for help. So just try to be a little bit more empathetic towards them. That kind of trauma doesn't go away without work. You have to work at it. These boys need to consciously make the effort to work at finding that peace within themselves and forgiving. And I wish them well. And they'll be in my prayers because this is really heartbreaking to see. This is really heartbreaking because I think they broke down, but think of how many people have those types of experiences that haven't broke down, that may have still done interviews, maybe still doing interviews, and they just haven't broke down. They just haven't said. They just haven't, led on to the trauma they experienced. Doesn't mean they haven't experienced it. It's just Q broke down during an interview on camera, whereas the rest may not. They all still have that trauma. They've all had that experience, and it's heartbreaking. But I wish them well. I wish them peace, love, light, and forgiveness.